This past weekend, the latest film in the Candyman franchise debuted in theaters. So today we're going to stop and rank all 4 Candyman films from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of all 4 Candyman films. My list isn't the right list. It's just my list, and I would love to see yours. As a point of reference, I am brand new to the Candyman franchise. I watched all of them for the very first time over the last 3 weeks, but I tried to jump into the deep end, so I watched the making of, special features, interviews with Todd, all of that fun stuff to kind of wrap my head around the franchise. But at the end of the day, I am brand new to the Candyman franchise. One more thing before we get started. If you enjoy this type of content, I have done a bunch of rankings of horror franchises. You can check them out right up here once this video is done, and let's get started. Without question, in last place is Candyman Day of the Dead. This movie immediately establishes itself as direct-to-video quality trash. The opening scene is literally a Baywatch babe waking up and walking around her apartment in panties and a skin-tight shirt, and in the first 15 minutes we have 2 different sequences of absolutely gratuitous nudity. All of the subtext, social commentary, subgenres, elegance, and gothic romance are just gone, and we just have a schlocky slasher that exists to provide kills, gore, and boobs. I mean, from the quality of the picture to the acting to the plot, everything is just bottom of the barrel. With the original film, they hired accomplished actress Virginia Madsen for the lead, and she went on to be nominated for Oscars in the future. With this film, they hired someone who'd starred on a couple seasons of Baywatch, and whose biggest accolade in life was being a Playmate of the Month. I don't mean to pick on the actress, but it speaks to what the producers were trying to do. With the original, they wanted a great actress. With this film, they wanted eye candy. And the ultimate death blow for this film, Todd himself has disowned it as a Candyman film in multiple occasions, including on interviews for the other Candyman films. In third place, Candyman Farewell to the Flesh. Here, the director of not one, but 2 different Twilight films tells a pretty mundane follow-up to the original Candyman. The original film blended multiple genres together and had this interesting story with characters you cared about. Here it's a much more straightforward slasher story that goes deeper with the mythology, but primarily just provides more gore. Here the movie really goes into detail explaining the Candyman's origin, but I feel like backstories are usually more effective when they're left to the imagination. When you replace intrigue and mystery with overt exposition, it's a pretty dangerous gamble, and I don't think it really paid off all that well here. There are some interesting ideas, and so they try some cool effects at certain points in time, but in general, I think it's just a little bit too straightforward of a slasher to be effective. There's also simply too many plot lines going on. You've got a brother in prison, the author, the teacher, the students, the backstory, there's this baby, and it's all kind of running together in a way where none of it's fully developed in a way that pays off all that well. And throughout the whole first half of this movie, there's way too many lazy jump scares. Like anytime anyone turns around, is tapped on the shoulder, or opens a door, there's this loud thud to try and startle you. But none of it's building tension or actually scaring you. It's just trying to surprise you with a loud noise. So all of the elegance and intricate nuance that went into the original is just kind of replaced with horror movie cliches. And so, a very forgettable follow-up. Our runner-up, Candyman 2021. After over 20 years, we get a return to the franchise with Jordan Peele producing and co-writing, and because of that, you get a movie that takes the franchise seriously. It's delivered with highbrow aesthetics, from the way the shots are crafted to the score, even the way the kills are done. All of it has this artistic flair to it. In particular, the kills are just just done in a way that's unique and different. For decades, we've seen these slasher movies where the guy walks up and just kills people, and here we get the kills, we get people's throats being slit and people being run through, but the camera uses mirrors and angles and shot transitions and scene transitions to show them in a new and different way that takes the familiar and gives it a new perspective. But as much as I loved the aesthetics of this film, I just felt like the social commentary was too heavy-handed. Now, of course, the original had clear social commentary that wasn't particularly subtle, but it was story-based. It was subtext. It was the undertone of it. Like, you have character's reaction to something that happened to her in the story. In the new movie, they introduce the main characters, and the first thing they do is stand in a circle and discuss the racial implications of gentrification. And our main character is an artist, so the other dialogue in the movie is discussing his art, which is about racial oppression and racial inequality. Whereas the original certainly had undertones and subtext about racial inequality. It was explored through story. Here you have people literally discussing race from an ideological perspective as the dialogue of the movie. And because of that, there's no subtlety, nuance, room for interpretation, room to discuss what it meant with your friends after the film. It's just the writers and director explicitly sharing their views in the film. And I know some people love it when it's that heavy-handed. For me, I want more subtlety. And so for me, the handling of the social commentary sabotaged a movie that had really great aesthetics. But easily coming in first place for me was the original Candyman. As I mentioned before, I had never seen this movie until just a couple weeks back, and I went in that combined slashers, psychological thrillers, gothic romance, urban legends, great characters, and almost a dreamlike quality. And everything about it had a certain artistic flair that kind of set it above most films of the genre. Delivers all the gruesome kills that you want from a slasher, but it provides more context for the events that are unfolding by framing it in this investigation about urban legends and where they come from. It just has a much more layered plotline where you have people being killed and people trying to survive, but there's subplots, twists, slasher with a unique look and voice, backstory, and way that he kills people. But the character also takes inspiration from like the Phantom of the Opera, where he has this gothic romance with our lead character. All of it just gives it this distinction in the genre. And one of the elements that just fills this movie out is the fantastic score, which manages to be haunting, creepy, but also weirdly romantic. All of it is memorable and makes an impact. Watching the behind-the-scenes special features on this movie, you start to realize just how much attention they paid to the characters and their dynamics. Tony Todd personally worked with the director to craft the Candyman's backstory so it would have emotional resonance. Tony Todd and Virginia Madsen spent a month going ballroom dancing and horseback riding so that they would have on-screen romantic chemistry. Virginia Madsen agreed to be hypnotized in pre-production and on set so she could be in the proper hypnotic state during some of her scenes. And you realize that's what heightens all the non-horror elements of this story. It makes you care about the characters, buy into their relationships, so you care when the horrific things happen to them. And finally, the ending is crafted in a way where our heroine can save the baby while still joining with Candyman. It's a layered finale that draws out multiple different satisfying emotions. It may be a movie about a killer with plenty of gore, but it's also an elegant, beautiful story, so it comes in at number 1. If you enjoyed this video and want more content like it, check out that playlist right over there with more of my horror franchise rankings. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.